So sometimes I like using an FK control rig to fix crashing polygons inside of a skeletal mesh. But what most people don't know is that there are actually some issues with the built-in FK control rig that Epic provides. For one, if you were inside of a nested sequence, you cannot bake to a skeletal mesh because it will just T-pose. This can happen in Unreal 5.6 and 5.7. Another issue you can have in layered FK control rig, sometimes you'll have bones move in a way that doesn't seem like it should. You can see here that when moving this control here, these two bones move kind of awkwardly. And on this shoulder here, you can see that if this control is pulled, you can see that the arm is being actually offset in a weird way. With a custom made FK control rig, you can bake a control rig inside the nested sequencers and animate the way that you expect. You can see here on the left, the bones move predictably, and on this image on the right, if I move the shoulder, it moves locally in the space of this bone here. So things you need to know while going through this tutorial: you will need to know how to use sequencer, you will need to know how to add a control rig and key things. You'll also need to understand how to use a layered control rig, and you'll need to know some basics to link together your own control rig if you were to make this on your own. The first rigs I'm going to demonstrate are from the Qoobit Sequence Baker. They are going to be the control rig units that come along with the plugin itself. So when you have the Qoobit Sequence Baker widget open, you just have to make sure you change the bake mode to CRU, which is control rig utility. The two rigs that I'm going to be demoing is the CRU FBFK and the CRU FBFK flat. This one here operates the same way as the built-in FK control rig, where bones are in a hierarchy. The CRU FBFK flat ignores hierarchy, and this is the one I like to use for fixing crashing polygons sometimes. So these are some helpful hotkeys for animating with these tools. There's the overlay controls, which I have set to Control Shift 1. It's the same as clicking on this little running man here and clicking on controls as overlay. You can see the difference here with the controls being occluded by the body or just showing x-rayed through. Sometimes you'll hit this bug in overlay mode where you can't select the controllers. All you have to do is toggle this on and off and you'll be able to select them again. The other hotkey that I like to use is the show flag bones. In this editor preferences, I've adjusted these two controls here to Alt B, and basically what this does is shows the bones inside the viewport. The models being used in this demo is this K-pop character from Ida Faber and Optimus Prime that you can find on TurboSquid, but it's heavily modified in Houdini for Unreal. The animations all come from Mixamo. You can load the widget by clicking on the Qoobit tab at the top, going to Animation, and then Sequence Baker. The widget shows up over here on the right. You can change the mode over to CRU, and if you find the FBFK by scrolling, you can press this button here to add the layered control, or you can press this bake button here to bake the control rig over to your sequencer. In this example, I'm going to be using layered. So first you click on the skeleton and hit this layered button. By going to the animation outliner, you can go to settings and scale the control of the bones. By pressing Alt B, you can show the skeleton. You can rotate the bones just as you would on a regular FK control rig to fix the crashing. So for this sequencer, all I did was retarget a Mixamo dance onto this K-pop character. There's no skirt rig, there's no physics assets, it's just the raw animation retargeted over. And to fix collisions, I could just easily keyframe these controllers to uncrash the mesh. If I'm not able to click on the controls themselves, if I press Control Shift 1, like I showed in the hotkeys, I can click on the controls again. For some of these bones, you cannot uncrash the mesh. You're going to have to hide the mesh below with materials or just delete the polygons themselves. You'll also know that while this control rig is usable for any skeletal mesh, when you move the control, they actually hide the rest of the controls, so you can easily see the changes that are on the mesh. So going back to the sequence baker here, I'm going to click on FBFK flat and I'm going to add the layered control rig onto the skeletal mesh. I'm going to change the control size scale in the settings, and then if I press Alt B, I can turn on the skeleton so I can see the changes in the skeleton in the viewport. Now the difference between the flat one and the other one is you can see that there is no hierarchy. So if I want to click on a specific bone, it's easier for me to type in the name of the bone itself, or click in the viewport. Again, if you can't click on the control rig, press Ctrl+Shift+1, toggle it on and off, or turn on this on and off, and then you'll be able to click on the controls again. So because this one has no hierarchy, I can click on different bones and I can move them while knowing that I'm not going to affect any of the other bones around it. So you can use this to spot fix any kind of crashing you get or just animation in general by setting your keys. You can do this in both layered or the baked control rig mode. So I've added the FBFK CRU control rig over to Optimus Prime here, and if I move the shoulder, I can move one of the controls and the visibility of all the other controls will disappear. As well as there's coloration per side on the controllers. You get the same features with the FBFK flat on Optimus here. There's also a scale to control the size of the controllers on the character. And because it's full body FK flat, you can see that there's no hierarchy. So that's it for the demo for the two built-in CRU FBFK control rigs. So if you're not planning to use the plugin and you want to make your own version of this, you can follow this short tutorial to build your own. First, right click, go to your animations, go to control rig and create your own control rig. Make sure you've made a control rig from this selection here, press create. And then from inside there, if you double click it, you can copy this small control rig here to make the same functionalities. First, you'll want to go to your preview settings, set your preview mesh over to SKM Mani, click on your class settings here, click on run, change your node run limit to something big, 6,000. You won't want to import your skeleton here. You'll want to do this all dynamically. So create your construction event, import the skeleton, and then for each one of these bones that it finds, make it find the parent, get the transform for the bone, take the name, and pipe it into a spawn transform control. You can change the scale of the control to change the control size that you see on the left. Make sure that your get transform is in global space, and then your offset transform is also in global space. In your forward solve, you want to get all controls, and then for each of those, you can get the transform and set the value on a set transform bone, where the name is coming from the for loop. So in this first mode here, you can see that this is operating the same way as the FBFK. If I want to set it up so that it's like FBFK flat, I have to make some changes. First, I'm going to unparent this thing on the spawn control. And that's it. You'll be able to move this the same way as the FBFK flat does. Lastly, you'll need to add a backward solve, get all bones, add a for each loop, get the transform from those bones, and set it on controls. And the name from the controls comes from the for each loop. And then just have it propagate over to the children. I'm going to add the parent back here for the final test. You can see here that after I've added the control rig that I just showed you how to make, you're able to move around the control rig in FK the same way, but except there's no hierarchy for the controls on the right, and there's no coloration per side, and the rest of the controls don't disappear when you move one of the controllers.